Attention all California renters and California landlords, there's a new security deposit law in town. We are going to run through AB 12 and show you the changes to security deposit collection that is coming as of July 1st, 2024. This will change the maximum security deposit a landlord can collect. We're also going to run through which properties are exempt from AB 12 and what this exactly means for renters. And then stick around to the end because there's three questions I'm going to answer that I know you're going to have because I've been doing this for so long. Hey there, Christian Walsh, real estate agent with Wire Associates. We have been helping renters and landlords know their rights before things go wrong. And remember, we can't give tax or legal advice, but for the most honest and up-to-date real estate advice, subscribe to this channel. A few quick points before we dive in. AB 12 talks about the collection of a security deposit, which happens at the beginning of a tenancy, or it can happen during a tenancy. It does not make changes to what happens when the deposit is being returned to a tenant at the end of a tenancy. Number two, a security deposit, it doesn't matter what you call it. We are going to discuss the maximums. So you can call it a key deposit, in some cases a pet deposit, whatever you want to call it. The maximums are what we're going to cover. You can't exceed those numbers that we're about to share, no matter what you call it. And one more important thing, there is no such thing as a non-refundable deposit in California for rental properties. So first, let's run through the current law because the current law is in place through June 30th of 2024. This new law, AB 12, doesn't go into effect until July 1st, 2024. Up until that last day, this is what a landlord will be able to collect for a security deposit throughout California. So let's take a look. So number one, we have an unfurnished apartment. That would be a landlord can collect up to 2 months worth of rent. Now they don't have to, they could collect anything less. 2 months would be the maximum. Next, we have a furnished apartment. And under the law before July 1st, 2024, a furnished apartment, a landlord is able to collect and hold on to up to 3 months worth of rent. Then we get into service members. So those who are in the military, if they are renting an unfurnished apartment under the law, 1 month can be collected if it's unfurnished and 2 months if it is furnished. That is a special law that was passed for service members. At the bottom, we have an extra deposit for a service animal or an ESA, an emotional support animal. And the answer is no, you can't collect any deposit in that case because those technically would not be pets, so you can't collect a pet deposit for those animals. So that's important to understand, and that will not change under the current law. You cannot collect an additional deposit for those. Moving into July 1st, 2024 and later, AB 12 goes into effect, and what do you see here? You see that no matter what, as long as you're not an exempt property, we're going to go into that exemption next, the maximum rent that can be collected is 1 month. So that's the absolute max in every case. And again, there's no extra that can be collected for a service animal or an emotional support animal. So obviously that distinction between furnished and unfurnished has become irrelevant for a landlord. They can no longer collect more than 1 month's rent. The law has an exemption for very specific cases, and that is, we have it at the bottom, the landlord has to be a natural person or an LLC, which all members are natural people. And the landlord can own no more than 2 residential rental properties that collectively include no more than 4 dwelling units offered for rent. So a quick way to do the math here is up to 2 duplexes, an SFR condo, and a triplex, or 2 SFRs or condos you can own as well. What if you have 3 condos that you rent out? That's less than 4 total units. Doesn't work. More than 2. Any landlord who doesn't qualify for the exemption is going to have to use the previous chart. If a landlord falls under this exemption, they are able to collect up to 2 months worth of rent as a deposit for an unfurnished or furnished apartment, but not if it's a service member. The service member remains, whether it's furnished or unfurnished, at 1 month's rent as a security deposit as the maximum. That's something that's changed. Again, nothing special here. No additional deposit can be collected for a service animal or ESA. So that's the distinction for those landlords who are exempt. They could potentially collect up to 2 months worth of rent as a security deposit, as long as it's not a service member. That's if they fall under these exclusions at the bottom. If you want a copy of these tables, all you need to do is subscribe to our weekly email newsletter. It's completely free. We'll give you these and we'll remind you as this law is coming closer so you don't have to remember. Plus, we'll give you a bunch of other updates you need to know. Leave your AB 12 and security deposit questions down below. That's just below the like button. Hit that on the way, and the share button. Make sure you tap that and send this off. Here's 3 questions that you're probably wondering right now. And number 1 is, does a landlord need to return any deposit that's above the new required amount once we get past July 1st, 2024? So this would be a tenant who moved in a few months or even a month before July 1st. Landlord maybe collected 2 or 3 months. Does the landlord have to return that extra deposit? The answer is no. The landlord can hold on to that. This will only be for tenancies that start July 1st, 2024 or later. Can a landlord increase my security deposit before July 1st, 2024 to those limits? And the short answer is yes. If you are a tenant who's on a periodic tenancy, which means, for example, month to month is the most frequent, a landlord could increase your security deposit with a 30-day notice, as long as it doesn't exceed the limits in the first chart that we went through. They can go ahead and increase or add to whatever they have now and add that difference so that it equals up to the 1, 2, or 3 months of your current rent. So if you moved in a while ago and your rent has increased, but your security deposit stayed the same as when you moved in, the landlord can make up the difference. And as we get closer to that July 1st, 2024 date, this will become an increasingly common question, and that is, when can the landlord collect that deposit and when can't they? Let's say a tenant's going to move in on July 1st. Could the landlord collect under the old rules before July 1st, collect that ahead of time? Short answer we're going to give is go ahead and talk to your attorney about it. We believe that this will be based on tenancies starting July 1st, 2024 and later. Even if you attempt to collect the deposit before July 1st, it will be in effect as of July 1st. So we recommend that you use the AB 12 guidelines for any tenancy starting July 1st, 2024 or later. And if you like this video, you're absolutely not going to want to miss this one here for renters and landlords.